Hi, I'm Shulin, and welcome to After the Bar. This podcast brings you stories from some of the most accomplished lawyers, former lawyers, and others in the legal industry from around the world. As a former lawyer myself, I've had thousands of conversations with lawyers over the years as a legal recruiter. After the Bar aims to bring some of these conversations to you and give you a glimpse into their world. To receive updates on new episodes, just search Shulin Lee on LinkedIn and follow me. So Meiyen is here today to share with us about what drives her. We'll ask her to share some interesting stories from her career and how she's become the R&I lawyer she is today. R&I stands for Restructuring and Insolvency. And in fact, she's the co-head of R&I of Oon Bazul, a boutique disputes firm in Singapore. I've known Meiyen for a number of years now, and she's easily one of the most prolific R&I lawyers in Singapore. Notably, she is the first female to lead an R&I legal practice in Singapore. A career that spans across more than 20 years, she has acted for and advised individuals, multinational corporations, court-appointed administrators, distressed and special situations funds and banks in Singapore and overseas. Prior to joining Oon Bazul, Meiyen was a partner at one of the big four domestic law practices in Singapore. She is also one of the founding members of the Singapore Network of the International Women's Insolvency and Restructuring Confederation. Quite a mouthful. In short, it's IWIRC. Obviously, we have many questions for you. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time. Yes. So staying consistent in all our episodes, I was just thinking, where better to begin than right at the beginning? You know, back in the day when you were still in law school, did you ever envision that you would end up doing disputes and specializing in R&I? Was it something that, that prodded you along the way to do this?
Absolutely not.
Oh, really?
Absolutely not. I
Okay.
think, as a student at university, and I went to Warwick University, which
Yes.
is some say quite left-wing university.
Yes.
It wasn't black letter. And I was extremely idealistic. So obviously I was thinking, I want to be a human rights lawyer.
Oh, human rights.
Yes, or work in the United Nations.
Yes.
Or a similar non-profit organization. So it wasn't until I did my pupillage back in Malaysia, and I pupilled under my pupil master. His name is Anandam Kasinatha. He's retired now. He did R&I work. So together with him and my other boss, Wong Chilin, they exposed me to R&I and disputes work.
I see.
And it was since then I have not turned
So
back.
since pupillage, you really
Yes.
did R&I.
That's right.
Oh, so it was, I guess the stars were aligned. You just,
I guess so, yeah. And, I've moved more to disputes sometimes, but I've always come back to R&I.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, how fascinating. And then after that period of time, you then moved to Singapore, and then that's how you began your
Well,
career.
actually, no, I worked in London for a few years.
Oh, I see.
Before I came out to Singapore.
Oh, okay, I never knew that.
Oh, right.
Never knew that.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I give you little snippets each time I
Yeah,
see you.
each time I learn something new. Yes, exactly. So you spent close to 10 years with Drew and Napier, one of the largest firms in Singapore.
Yes.
Then another almost 7 years in Wong Partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So a total of 17 years in big four law firms in Singapore. So it's big four, and then now boutique law firm.
Yes.
How was that transition for you, like from a big firm to a, Oon Bazul isn't small, but it's like more like a boutique firm.
Yes.
right?
I mean, it's a medium-sized law firm.
Medium-sized.
Pretty full service, save for a couple of practice areas like tax and
Yes.
IP. But yes, it is a much smaller firm. But one of the things I truly appreciated about that was that things get done really quickly. No red tape, no bureaucracy.
I see.
If it's a good thing, it's implemented very, very quickly.
Immediately,
Yes,
okay.
because they don't have to go through all the different,
Yes.
EXCO and all the different committees and everything before
see.
something gets approved. So that was something I really quite like. And obviously, conflict-free,
Yes.
great for business.
Yes,
you know
great
what I
for
mean?
business.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. Yeah. So,
Yes.
from every almost 50% or more, in fact, of matters that come to me, I can't take it on because of conflict in the past. I don't have that issue generally in Oon Bazul.
Was that one of the factors that spurred you to make that decision?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay, but so it was an easy decision, was it, or was it?
Oh no,
difficult?
it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
the decision to move from, I guess, the safe confines of a Big Four law firm was not an easy one.
No, it wasn't. I mean, in a Big Four law firm, you've got I've been there for a few years. I have my friends. I have, support. I have everything all there, right? And in fact, I would say one of the things which I found a little bit difficult when I moved to Oon Bazul, because I was setting up the R&I practice,
you set it up from scratch.
Yes, was that I had no one to bounce ideas off. I had no, there's no one else with expertise there to help me and all that. So it was quite lonely in that sense.
In the beginning.
Yes. But obviously my practice has grown.
Yes.
I've got a new partner that joined me as well.
Yes.
And he's been very helpful with Keith.
We'll
Keith.
talk more about Keith. Yes, for sure.
So that part has been, it's been resolved. It's been great. Yeah.
But when you were trying to make the decision, you were saying, you and I talked about it before.
Yes.
Like it did cross your mind to maybe consider going in-house, right? At one point.
Yes. So basically, not just that, Shulin, I considered taking a year out.
Oh, really?
I considered sort of traveling or doing a new degree or a master's. But then in the end, after sort of like daydreaming about everything, I realized the two main options I have were to either stay in legal practice or go in-house. And I explored quite far going in-house. I interviewed with a few international banks. But in the end, I decided that I just really wanted autonomy and I wanted to grow something.
Grow your own practice.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And sort of leave some sort of legacy, right? So with that, I decided to join Oon Bazul because I've known Bazul for many years, since my early days in practice.
Yes.
And, the position that they have on offer really suited what I needed and what I want.
Yes.
So that's it, and in a blink of an eye, it's been 4 years.
4 years.
I've been there.
Right time, right place, I suppose.
Yeah. In fact, yesterday was my 4th year anniversary.
Really? Congratulations. This is a nice way to mark your
I know, right?
4 years.
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Also, you joined in November 2017.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, your maths is very good.
On the spot.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so then you made that move. Okay, so talking about Keith, right? Because it's interesting because you started off as the head of the practice, and now you and Keith, within a year or so, you're both now co-heads of the practice.
That's right.
And I personally, from the outside looking in, it looks like a very powerful combination. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the message that you're sending is quite strong.
Yes.
Because you're paving the way for the next generation of practitioners.
Definitely.
Right? And I'm just curious, what are the dynamics like? You and Keith, you guys are building the team.
Yeah, no, I think chemistry is fantastic. We get on really well.
Yeah.
We work well together. He's amazing. He's as you may know, he's like a first class honors, ex-JLC, extremely ambitious, and just very, very easy to work with. So we do a lot of things together. We pitch for work together. We see people together. And I don't think anyone deserves it more than him. The promotion to co-head.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are continuing our quest to grow this practice and, to make it a decent sized practice, to punch above our weight with the Big Fours. We already are, don't get me wrong. We have many times our opponents are, the Big Four lawyers, Big Four law firm lawyers. So we'd like to continue in that trajectory.
Yes. Everyone loves an underdog story, actually, right? So if we rewind the clock a little bit, to before Keith came along, when it was just you heading up R&I, a lot of people say that the law industry is quite male dominated, especially in law firms. And for R&I, it's even more so. There are, of course, female practitioners like yourself, but few and far in between, right? So in the male dominated world of R&I, do you see any advantages? I would say advantages, we can focus on that first, right? And of course, there might be some disadvantages being one of the few females in R&I.
Yeah, well, how should I start? Okay, I think I can say that clearly to everyone, there are disadvantages for women in the workplace, from salaries and pay to promotions. I mean, we are clearly, not on par with men till today, but that gap is really closing, I think. And in fact, when I look around recently, compared to say even just 5 years ago, there's so many more senior female practitioners and female judges compared to 5 years ago. Like literally, I think double or more than double.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I didn't realize that.
Yes, exactly. And I think Singapore is a great place for us to be at. And I think the future for women in Singapore is really, really bright. Yeah. With respect to advantages, well, I think one thing I noticed when I came out to start the practice was that I was the first female lead for a R&I legal practice in Singapore. And I think that garnered quite a lot of attention. And with that came a lot of speaking opportunities, on panels worldwide. And I bit the bullet and I always accepted when I could. And I took advantage of that. And to help build my profile and my practices profile. And yes, so I did see that opportunity. And I knew it was given to me because I was female and yes, I seized it, Yeah.
And was it scary when you first took on such engagements, or you were very used to already speaking all the time?
Well, I had started speaking already, but yes, I was still always a little bit nervous. Up till today, Shulin, I'm still a little bit nervous.
It is always good to have that mixture of nerves and excitement.
I know, right? But okay, this is where I really admire men. What is the word? Carpe diem, seize the day.
Yes.
They would just say, yep, they put up their hand and they would just go for it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm there thinking, oh, there's that opportunity. Shall I take it or shall I not? Oh, am I ready?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, how much prep do I have to do?
Yes.
Will I fail and embarrass myself?
Yes.
By the time I come to, the conclusion that, okay, I'll do it. And that's if I even come to that conclusion.
Yes.
It would have been taken. The opportunity would have been taken. And often by a man, right? So, these are the little things we have to learn from men.
True.
They can teach us quite a few things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a lot of I realize it's a lot of our self-talk.
Yes.
Right? It's that little voice in our head sometimes. I mean, I stop myself a lot of times before actually realizing, hang on, I believe I can do it, and then just take a chance and do it. But you've done really well. So you've single-handedly built up this department in Oon Bazul for R&I, and then now it's grown from how many people to now?
Well, from myself and one senior associate, we now have myself, Keith, my fellow partner, and we've got 3 associates.
Yes.
And then come December or January, we'll have more trainees to come in and
that's
join
a very
us again.
sizable team.
Well, it's okay. It's small, but it's not too small. We can still take on some big matters. And give good quality work for the more for the larger matters. We've been able to do that. So that's really good.
Yes. And in terms of diversity, right? Because we talked about, well, I guess the advantages and disadvantages of being a female in the world of R&I. The reason why I emphasize advantages is because, whenever we speak, we always hear of people saying, oh, it's more difficult for women and so and so. That's why women should support other women, men supporting women. Do you see more of that happening, women supporting women? I mean, it's just like you and I talking here. It's great.
Yes.
We are supporting each other.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. I personally think we could see more of that.
I agree. I think we definitely can see more of it. But again, it's something that is work in progress. And I think it has progressed tremendously over the last, I don't know, a decade or more even, because I think it also comes from the point that women are now seeing themselves in more senior positions. And then there are more women in those positions. And hence they are then able to help people who are, women who are more junior, whether it's through mentorship or being the employer or whatever it is, and to guide them through, their career path.
That's true. So it is true in the sense that when I think back to when I was a young lawyer, there are many female role models, right? So the thing is, my direct boss then was a man. And I guess if I had seen a female achieve certain things, I might think, oh, then that's possible for me. However, I think, well, from my line of work anyway, there are more stories of women actually, female bosses, not actually really lending that helping hand, you know. So yeah, I mean, more can be done, but yes, you're right. I mean, not to detract from the fact that actually a lot has been done. There is progress.
Yeah, we're going to stay positive here.
Yeah, stay positive, yes. And then going back to men helping women.
Yes.
Because there are, in fact, I believe even in my career, I really credit both men and women helping me out. I see a lot of men going out of their way now to really help the next generation.
Yes.
You know, do you see that?
I do. And I think it's got to do with education. You know, men are being educated about women and women's interests and where women need assistance and help. And they're coming forward. They're helping. They're pulling their socks up and saying, "Yes, I'm here to support." And I see that a lot. You know, all my previous bosses have been men.
Yes.
Right. And I would say that they've always inspired me.
Yep.
They've always supported me. And I have no complaints there whatsoever. And you know, I know you're going to ask me later about a certain organization, but what I've noticed is even with that, working with that organization, men have been extremely supportive.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Yes.
Yes.
On the IWIRC, because it is quite a mouthful.
It is, yeah, just call it IWIRC, yeah.
In fact, it's not a co-working space, just to be very clear. It's the Singapore Network of the International Women's Insolvency and Restructuring Confederation.
That is correct.
Yes, and you're one of the founding members.
I am.
Well done.
Thank you. So
Yes.
I, together with a few other professional women who are also my good friends here in Singapore, decided to set up the Singapore chapter of IWIRC. It's an international organization.
Where did it start?
In the US.
Okay.
And it is the premium networking platform in the world for women in the R&I space.
I see.
It gives women a safe environment to network, to build their brand, their profile. You know, and this includes encouraging them to you know, sort of sit in panels for speaking opportunities, sit on board of directors and things like that. Also, in Singapore, I was going to mention that, I mean, I don't think anyone is going to beg to differ, but I do believe that we've grown it such that it is the leading networking organization, not just for women, but for the entire R&I industry.
Amazing.
In
So
Singapore.
there are male members.
We have male
of
members.
IWIRC.
Yes, we
Okay.
encourage male members to join. I mean, the only thing that the men can't do is they can't sit on the board.
I see.
Yeah.
Ooh, so
This might
the
change
women
one
call
day.
the shots.
Yes,
in
this might change
IWIRC.
one day, but for now, that's the way it is.
I see.
We've gained a lot of support from, well, men. You know, like I said, a lot of the purse strings for sponsorship are held by men
I see.
in the industry.
Okay.
And they have been very generous with sponsorship of our events, you know, with encouraging their women and their male employees to become members of our organization.
I see. And what spurred you on to start the Singapore chapter? When was this actually? When did
This
you
was
start it?
just over 10 years ago.
Oh, you set it up 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So we set up over 10 years ago. And then I took co-chair a few years back for 2 years.
Yes.
Well, what spurred me to join in this effort to get it started was because I think, you know, a lot of times women are, I mean, I'm not one of those because I don't have children, but I noticed a lot of my friends have kids, you know, then they also have their career. They just don't have time to network or to go out and,
Yes.
see people in the evenings and stuff like that. And then apart from that, there are all these other women who might not feel comfortable also,
Yes.
going out, drinking with everyone and the guys at night or whatever
Yes.
it is. And I mean, sometimes the guys don't even want you there, right? You're
Yes.
having a blokes night out,
Yes.
but a lot of networking goes on during that time.
True. Very true.
So meanwhile, we thought it'd be great if IWIRC does also a lot of lunch events and things where then, mothers can also turn up and socialize and network and attend seminars that are happening during the day rather than in the evening. And we saw how it was working so well in all the other jurisdictions, in the US, in Hong Kong. And we thought Singapore could definitely benefit from
Yes,
that. And it has, and it really truly
yes.
has. Yeah.
Amazing that you started the ball rolling, even though you're not a mom yourself, and actually it benefits a lot of working moms in the world of R&I. And actually, if I'm correct to say this, it's not only for lawyers, right?
Oh no, it's not.
It's also R&I
Yes.
for, yes.
To be clear, it's for lawyers, it's for accountants, financial advisors, people who work in funds, in distressed funds who are, active players in this industry.
Yes.
People who work in banks,
Yes.
Yes. Anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are very, very open-minded and very welcoming.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so not many, of course, those in the legal industry, most of us will know what is R&I. But for those listeners who don't exactly know what R&I is, could you maybe just share a little bit, like in a nutshell? So obviously it's restructuring and insolvency, but it doesn't only apply to companies which are winding up, right?
Of course not, yeah. So let's see, how can I, if you see recently in the US, Toys R Us, they went to distress and then they went through restructuring and, Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yes.
So this is something we've adopted in Singapore as well. So often in the past, when a company goes into distress, it does end up, like you said, going into liquidation, being wound up, close shop. That's it. But now, with our new laws, we are encouraging debtor companies to not just close down shop, but to actually see if you can get new investors and revive the business and continue again as a going concern. So this is a project obviously that's very dear to myself and to everyone in the R&I industry to grow the restructuring side of the work. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, Toys R Us is a very important business to myself and many parents out there. So we will hate for it to be closed down. So Toys R Us is safe in Asia,
yes,
right? The
Asia,
shops are still,
yeah.
So, okay, so going back to the R&I market, because of COVID, it seems like it's been particularly busy. And I noticed that in the industries such as shipping, hospitality, travel, they've had to rethink the way they do business. And as you said, like the cash deployment and all that. So has COVID impacted your practice in a positive way? Because there's so much more activity going on.
In some sense, yes, I think so. We've been getting a lot of, for example, we've been getting quite a lot of Indonesian work. A lot of Indonesian debtor companies tend to borrow from abroad, right? And one of the places they borrow from is Singapore.
I see.
Right? And these are usually in the form of bonds, which are issued by the debtor company. So what they've done is, and you can imagine in Indonesia, it has really impacted on a lot of businesses.
It has.
So my clients then looked to Singapore to restructure their bond debts, and found it, I think, very easy, very user-friendly, and very manageable. Because if they don't do it here and they do it back in Indonesia, they would have to put the whole company into restructuring. Not just the bonds, but all the other creditors as well.
Okay.
And that would have been a much more expensive, long, drawn-out process,
Right.
and very risky, because they've got, I think, a fixed amount of time for which to do it, after which then that's it, over.
I see.
Game over.
Wow,
So-
you've managed to clarify and demystify the world of R&I in just a few short sentences.
I wouldn't say it's a particularly difficult area of law, but it's new, it's exciting, and I really hope that we can all contribute to the growth of the R&I industry here in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know, in my world anyway, for restructuring lawyers, there are the lawyers who are more focused on disputes. So those who go to court more often. Then there are those who are more like what you were saying, bond issuances. So more like finance, restructuring law, right?
Yeah.
So in I guess in a sense, because of COVID, I think a lot of these lawyers, including yourself, are kept busier.
Yes.
Would you say that?
I would say so. I would say that we have been busy because of COVID. We're not seeing as much as we thought we would. And that's also because, governments around the world have been giving handouts to ensure that people can sustain themselves through the COVID pandemic. And also, there have been moratoriums as well against the commencement of enforcement proceedings. They've increased the threshold of the minimum sum and stuff like that. So that has helped ease off a lot of proceedings proceedings in this area.
Yes.
Which I mean, overall is a good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, I think it's obviously good for the country and the
Yes.
world that we don't all just collapse all at the same time.
Yes, thankfully for that.
That's
and,
right.
And in 2017, I remember you mentioning to me before there were reforms to the Singapore Restructuring Act, right?
Yes.
But even prior to that, you were in Wong P, and Drew. You guys already kept very busy. So with those reforms, does it mean that was there like a floodgates effect? Like was there a lot more work, or is it like a slowly trickle down thing?
Yeah, it's not a floodgate opening, but it's grown. You know, I think. Because it's a new jurisdiction in the sense that we are offering all these new things which are like really sexy, like dip financing, an enhanced moratorium.
I see.
They
do sound very
procedures.
sexy.
Yeah, I mean they are in our world, right? But the problem is it's new. Everyone's no one's had experience here. The judges haven't had experience. We haven't had experience. And we're all sort of working on that. So with respect to trying to win the international work over, trying to beat, I don't know, London and New York. Well, New York in particular, right? It wasn't going to be that easy. And I think it was expected. No one was particularly disappointed. But as, the judges work, I mean, they work so hard to issue reported decisions and judgments, so that we can then grow our jurisprudence. More and more people are starting to feel comfortable with Singapore as a jurisdiction to restructure.
Yes, and I think one of the times that we caught up before, you mentioned how when you're on a deal, it's actually quite a collaborative way, right? It's not like you against me, but rather you could get this other lawyer from another firm involved in this scheme of arrangement or something.
In the sense that a lot of my work is cross-border and multi-jurisdictional. And even if it's just a local deal, you'd always have someone acting for the debtor company, someone acting for various creditors, or different lawyers acting for different creditors.
Yes.
And one of the key things with the R&I industry, which is slightly different from disputes, so I do both, right?
Yes.
Is that in the R&I industry, we are much more collaborative.
Yes.
And it's not so much a adversarial situation. I mean, it can get that way, but we always try to move away from that. And which is also kind of like the way I think, Singapore would like it to be. We've been encouraging mediation. The courts always say try mediation first, and I think that's actually a good way. I've done a few mediations now, and I actually totally embrace it. I find that it's interesting how defenses come down and people then really honestly say what they want, as opposed to in a dispute where you're adversarial and you always have to hold your cards really closely to yourself and all that, right? And act really aggressive and firm and
Yeah, I realized that. I sat in once on a Zoom mediation because of a friend, and I realized that you really put your swords down after a while, and of course this is dependent on how experienced the mediator is.
Yes, because the mediator is key.
Key, right?
Yes, he is.
Really need to take charge. This was via Zoom, so it was not easy. But in the end, they managed to settle the case.
Fantastic, yeah. And like I said, my experience at mediation has been very positive, and this is something that I would definitely consider on as many cases as possible.
I see. Okay, to be honest, I didn't know that mediation is also involved in the world of R&I.
Oh yes,
so that's something new I learned today.
And I think it's I was just thinking back to what we talked about earlier. And I was just thinking to myself about when I was young and I was a real disputes lawyer.
Yes.
And how I always had to sort of hide my sort of more feminine side, my more feminine qualities, where, we're sort of more supportive, collaborative,
yes,
a little bit more sensitive,
more
with some empathy.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're always trying to hide that, right?
Yes.
And then go across aggressive and
garang.
Fierce and garang,
Yes.
And, actually now with age and with experience, and I suppose with some confidence, I'm much more, I suppose I don't need to pretend and prove so much. I think it's better to be more authentic and to be genuine and to use those qualities, not perceive them as disadvantages or weaknesses, but to use them as strengths. And I apply that a lot to my work now in order for me to deliver, a good quality work and service to my client.
Yes. I think a lot of people appreciate that more than we know. Because most of the time, I think a lot of lawyers, including myself, I used to be a lawyer. I mean, I'll admit, right? I'm an insecure overachiever.
I'm most women. I'm most female lawyers. I can say that about myself too.
So I think we put on a certain front because we think that's the way the world expects us to be, right? And then with age, although I must say you look very young, you do realize that, you know what? What's the point, right? Might as well be real. And actually your colleagues, your teammates and your clients, they might appreciate you a lot more for that, you know? And I read somewhere recently about how we don't win people over with our strengths, not all the time, but we actually win them over by showing them our vulnerable side. So I thought, wow. But it's not like I'm going to break down in tears in front of a client, you know what I mean? That's not what I'm going to do. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't have to get that far.
Yeah, but I believe in that feminine side, the empathy, you know, a bit more of the human touch. Because I do hear some stories about how, you know, opposing sides in a litigation case can get very, very nasty. Like, you know, they shoot one letter and it almost seems like they're at war. So sometimes it's actually to the detriment to the clients. Sometimes. Although there are some clients who just want you to go out there and get the other side, right?
Yeah. I guess, you know, like I said, it's not one size fits all, right? So I think, you know, like I said, with experience, you sort of know when you need to be, you know, that sort of tough-ass lawyer and when you need some softness and empathy.
Like pick your battles.
Yes, learn to pick your battles and learn how to fight them as well.
I see.
Sometimes it's not about, you know, going forward and fighting. Sometimes it's about just moving with the flow as well.
Because at the end of the day, it's your reputation that you carry.
Oh, yes.
Right, in the long run. With the clients, with opposing sides.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And going back to how COVID has impacted your practice, because now we are sort of, fingers crossed, emerging from COVID. Post-COVID, do you think R&I is still going to continue growing? I mean, I'm sure the answer is yes. I'm just curious because a lot of people have this perception that, okay, because of COVID, there's a lot of more R&I work. Then after COVID, you know, what then?
So I think we will reach a level where, I mean, the work will keep coming and it will grow and then maybe it'll plateau for a while, you know, during the good times. But there'll still be a consistent amount of work because at the end of the day, you know, there may not be as many during good times, but companies do fail for whatever reasons. And it doesn't always have to be because of a financial crisis or a pandemic. It could be other issues that have caused them to fail.
Yes.
And sometimes it could just be using the process anyway, just so that they can clear out old debts and move on, or because of a buyout or whatever it is, they might want to use this process instead. So, you know, I think Singapore's R&I future is bright. We have, like I said, extremely supportive and willing players here, you know, not just the practitioners, but also the judiciary, you know, and the government has been helping to promote the R&I space and industry as well worldwide. We also, you know, do you remember like with arbitration?
Yes,
right?
I do.
About over 20 years ago, I mean, it was like they were just starting.
Unheard of.
Yes. But because of all the support that they got, you know, today it's a real arbitration hub in Asia.
Singapore has been.
Yes, it's amazing how it's grown. So think of it, they are sort of doing the same with R&I space.
I see.
And with that kind of support, you know, I'm confident that it's just gonna keep growing.
So it's just the start.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
on the cusp of something even bigger. And actually, if you look back, I guess there was the Lehman Brothers crisis, and before that there was the .com bubble, Asian financial crisis, and during those times, do you see a spike as well in restructuring work?
Interestingly, 1997 Asian crisis, yes, but for the Lehman Brothers,
yes,
that time not so much. You know, it wasn't so much. But I think it's because you know, central banks got together.
Yes,
you know,
they were all bailed out.
They bailed out some major players. You know, they printed more money.
Yes,
so they managed to avoid a catastrophe, basically. Yeah.
Actually, anyone listening to this, if they are thinking of studying law or embarking on a career in law, R&I suddenly seems a lot sexier. It really does. So So if there's someone out there thinking of doing R&I or switching to R&I, for the next generation of lawyers, is there any piece of advice you would give to them, before embarking on this area of
Well,
law?
I mean, I suppose first thing is make sure you study the subject and related subjects at university. And
what are the related subjects?
Companies law,
Right, credit and security.
Right. Something
that was very
finance.
tough.
Yeah,
I had nightmares about that.
yeah, I know. I remember at university, I like jurisprudence.
Yes.
I like various other things that are not so
easier to get an A for me.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would definitely recommend that. I would recommend as well that if you're interested, you should do as many internships as possible.
Yes.
First with a few different sort of practices around in the law firms that do R&I.
Yes.
And then when you find a right fit that you like, then just keep going back to that law firm to do the internship there again when you have time. Because I have my juniors do that, and they grew up with me from internships to then becoming trainees.
Wow.
And then becoming my lawyers. And I have to say that by the time they come in as trainees, we already know them so well, and I think it's good for both ourselves as the partners and also for the juniors, because it's like there's no hiccup. They already know how we work, what is expected of them, and it creates good relationships.
Yes.
And it just sets you up really well.
Yes.
If you're sure, if you know that's what you want to do, and yeah.
What do you think are the threats to the legal industry? Because, I came from a big four firm before, and, international firms are not the enemy. In fact, if anything, a lot of our local lawyers now have an opportunity to get training. Like you benefited from working in London for a bit. You wish you had gone to Hong Kong. So I think the next best thing, instead of going overseas, is actually for a junior lawyer to try working in an international firm. Sometimes, like Keith came from a Magic Circle firm, right, before he joined.
Yep.
So I think that there are good and bad things, and not often, it shouldn't be seen as a threat per se. So my question to you, Meiyen, is, do you see any future threats to the legal industry? There's a lot of talk about AI and tech, but I don't think in the world of R&I.
That's right. I would say AI probably is a big threat to some special expertise areas, but not in my space, not yet anyway.
Not yet.
I think not during my lifetime.
We can't imagine
during my career lifetime. Yeah,
very unlikely.
Yeah,
okay.
but I mean, AI, like you said, you see some people see it as a threat, but then at the same time, I think I like to embrace it as a way forward that's going to make our life easier. That's going to save us time and cost.
Yes.
I rather see it that way. And,
I'd rather see it that way too.
Yeah. In a lot of law firms, including mine, we are sort of embracing it in that way.
Yes. And actually, talking about technology, very often I think we fail to see the opportunity. The first human instinct reaction is like, oh, this is eating into my pie. So for instance, for me, when LinkedIn first came about, I thought my career is over. I better go back to law.
Exactly. And yet, look at it. You've used LinkedIn to your advantage.
Yes, I have. And so I was going to ask you, how has social media impacted the way you market to clients, speak to clients? Has it affected the way you practice law? Like, do you utilize social media as a tool?
I do try. I wouldn't say I'm the best user of social media. I'm still a work in progress, but I have a fantastic business development team that really helps me with it, encourages me to, they will say, okay, so make suggestions for me to do things, and then I do it. So that's great. I've got someone else sort of like helping me on that. And I think it does help.
Yes.
I think getting your profile up on LinkedIn and getting people seeing what you're doing and stuff is important.
It is.
Yeah.
Malik, right? You're talking about Malik?
Yes.
Malik is amazing at social media.
Yes, he is. Yeah. he's been, we're just very thankful to have him as well.
Yes, he's fantastic. Are there other opportunities you foresee? Because yes, there's a lot of talk about how the government is doing a lot, right? The market is increasing. There's a lot more. There are a lot more clients that are looking now at Singapore. Are there any other opportunities that you foresee for the world of R&I?
Well, we talk about restructuring instead of going into insolvency and things like that, and using the scheme, to compromise debts. But then like I said earlier, we have super priority financing here. It's in our laws now. We've had only a
Super
few.
priority financing.
Yes. So basically, new money can come in
Okay.
and they take priority over all the other creditors, existing creditors, right? So that you can then revive the business and keep it going.
Oh, I see.
So that's very, very, a very valuable tool. People are starting to use it. But I think by the time, it becomes something that's used regularly, this whole space is just gonna, it's just going to be burgeoning and explode. I think,
Wow.
but we need a few more cases to keep going and to see that it works. And then after that, I think more people will come here. So you
Okay.
see a lot of funds and people who invest in distressed assets. They probably, I mean, we've already got quite a few set up shop here, but I think even more will come.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This has been so educational and enriching for me. I'm learning so much. Okay, so now that we've heard from Meiyen, the lawyer, before we wrap up the podcast, let's get personal and ask some quick, fun questions. So what's your favorite comfort food, Meiyen? Because both of us love food, right?
Yes, Penang Char Kway Teow.
Oh, nice.
That's just the beginning. I mean, there's so many, but Penang Char Kway Teow is like something I crave, especially when I'm in Singapore because, but now you have it in a lot of places. But for the longest time, it's quite hard to get.
Where is the best rendition here?
Well, I don't, I always just get it from the same old place near where I live, right? It's called Penang Cafe or something.
I see.
So
Oh,
I
the
normally
Penang Cafe.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I
that's
just
good.
normally get it from there. But there are quite a few places now that serve it and it's all quite good. Tangs has one.
Thanks. Oh, yes.
Great Wall City now has one as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now you've given me a craving.
We can go and eat together.
Yes. What about your favorite drink?
Non-alcoholic, I like green tea. I love tea, yeah. And I like green tea in particular. Alcoholic drinks, I mean, champagne's probably my favorite, followed by, although I can't drink it that often, is a really nice classic martini.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay, and
How about you? Just curiously.
Yeah. Okay, good question. So I like mimosas.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, that's like, it's sweet and it's bubbly. But yes, at any time also, I like red wine. I'm not particular.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And actually, favorite non-alcoholic drink is also green tea.
Okay.
Yes.
We have so much in common.
Yes, we do. I like the Summer Pavilion's lychee green tea. It's really good.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so how about your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm a hopeless romantic. So in terms of films and movies, I love When Harry Met Sally. I love Forrest Gump,
Me too.
The story of the underdog.
I love that show.
Yeah, I just love it. It just every time it comes on, I just have to sit down and just watch whatever's left of it.
Yes.
And then again, back to being a romantic, like Love Actually.
Oh, yes.
I just love it because it's like lovely love stories. And then the Christmas time,
Yes.
I love the holidays.
Yes, the sign, right?
Oh yeah,
I
the
remember
sign,
that.
I know.
Yes. Okay. And if you can sum up in one sentence, what's Meiyen's motto in life? If you can sum up in one sentence.
I think it would be live and let live. I think, just live your own life, make yourself happy and let others live their own life. I don't think we all have time to be judgy.
Yes.
Yes. And like,
hung up over stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What may be good for you may not be my cup of tea, but so
Yes.
what?
Yes,
right?
yes,
As long as you don't
exactly.
hurt each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I see that in you because over the years, every time I speak with you, I get that sense you're genuinely happy when someone else is successful, and that's not easy to come by in the world, not just in the legal industry. You know what I mean? So thank you so much. And one final question.
Sure.
Is there any question like you wish I could have asked today, but I didn't?
No, I think you've been very comprehensive. This must be your lawyer side coming out.
Cross-examination. No, but is there any question you wish I could have asked and I missed out?
Nothing I can think of offhand. Let me think.
Is there something you want other people to know about you that not many people know about you? Put you on the spot.
Sure, yeah, you're really putting me on the spot. I think I think that was quite a lot. I mean, that I've actually opened up to and like I said,
yes. Anyway, I think the work that you do with IWIRC is fantastic. And
well, I mean, there I have to say, I've taken a back seat since, and the ladies that have continued the good work, they're doing an amazing job.
Great.
And they've taken it to another different level. Their ideas are new and refreshing. Like for example, during the COVID period, because we are a social networking organization, how to socialize during COVID, right?
Yes.
So started off with like, Zoom drinks, with different, and what was nice was we were doing it with chapters in different parts of the world,
Yes.
which was something we never even thought of doing in the
Yes.
past.
Yes.
But because of COVID, suddenly think, well, I can do it with someone else in Singapore, but I can also do it with someone else abroad.
Yeah.
So we started doing that, which was great. Well, it was the new board. Then during the time, do you remember when we could only have like 8 people per?
Yeah. That seemed like a lifetime ago though.
I know it does, doesn't it? So during that time, what they did was, because every end of the year, we have this big Christmas party,
Yes.
right? And we have about 100 people turn up for, pre-dinner drinks and a really nice dinner. And, some people move on after that to clubs or whatever it is, right? But we couldn't have it last year. So what happened and what they did, and I thought this was just great, a great way, and the way they improvised was they then decided to have 8 packed dinners, right? All over in different restaurants in Singapore. Over a week or 2 weeks.
I think I saw that on LinkedIn and then various photos.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, secret locations.
Yes, yes.
And I think it was fantastic. I mean, obviously, I went for one and I really enjoyed it. And the thing is, you can just like put your name in, and then they just shuffle you with different people on that particular day that you've chosen and all that. So you get to meet random new people.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're doing a great job.
Amazing.
I have to say. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time. Really,
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. I learned so much today, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have as well. Thanks, Meiyen.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for taking
Thank you
time
so
to speak
much
to me.
for coming here. So if you'd like to get in contact with Meiyen, then please check out the notes on this episode where her contact details will be found and details of anyone mentioned on the show. If you've enjoyed this podcast, then be generous and share it with as many people as you can. Rate it, review it, and follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening. Join us next time to find out what could be in store for us after the bar.